Shoulder pain, specifically impingement, isn't just about the pain stopping your training, but could also leave you with long-term damage and dysfunction if you leave it untreated. And the last thing you need is a frozen shoulder or an operation. So let me show you how you can fix it. Hey guys, it's Marius here from MariusVisser and yes, I've been there and I've had my fair share of shoulder pain and it sucks. Because, believe it or not, shoulder pain is probably one of the most common issues out there, but you're not alone. I'm here to help you and I'm going to show you what you should be doing for your shoulders today. Let's face it, there are a few things you need to know about shoulders. First off, it's the most mobile joint in the body. And second, it has the potential for problems like impingements, even if it's restricted just a little. And third, there isn't just one magic exercise that can fix shoulder pain. It is a smart and principled approach that's going to ensure your shoulders not only recover from impingements, but also ensure good posture and alignment. So I'm going to take you through my principles and methods of fixing shoulder pain. More specifically, shoulder impingement syndrome, to better help you understand what it is and how you could use these principles to help you fix it. Impingement syndrome is a common name that describes the pain and inflammation in the shoulder associated with certain movements. We use these movements as positive tests to diagnose the entrapment or narrowing of the acromial space and the swelling and inflammation of one or more of your rotator cuff muscles. The most common test that you can do is the near test and Hawkins-Kennedy test. For the near test, extend your arm straight up as far as you can. If it starts to hurt, the closer you get to the top part, it's a positive test. And the Hawkins-Kennedy test, all you need to do is bend your elbow, raise your arm and adduct it slightly and then internally rotate your arm. If you feel pain on the top of the shoulder, that's a positive test for subacromial impingement syndrome. Now, your rotator cuffs have an important function, and that's to control the roll, slide and glide of the glenhumeral joint. That is to keep the joint in its socket and to stabilize the movements the bigger and strong prime muscle movers perform. Could they be weak? They could, especially when they injure them or neglect certain movement patterns. Would strengthening them help fix your shoulder pain? It could, but only if the other factors are in place. If your mobility is compromised as well as your basic movement patterns, strengthening your rotator cuff muscles are like changing the deck chairs on the Titanic. Your shoulder needs complexity to stay strong and healthy, and it's so important to make sure you move them in all directions daily if you want to avoid pain and injuries. You know, you're pushing and pulling motions, throwing and swinging and even moving into directions you didn't even think you could. But having said that, they are a crucial part in any exercise program, and I train them regularly as part of my prehab routines. Now, a lot of the focus of rehabilitation is put on the so-called strength of the rotator cuff muscles. These muscles are your major glenhumeral joint stabilizers, and it has been shown that the external rotation function of your stabilizers could be approximately 30% weaker in people who suffer from impingement syndrome. The functions of the shoulder, which by the way are almost unlimited, looking at the different articulations from the scapula to the wrist, could also be affected by poor thoracic spine mobility and poor scapular stability, because you cannot have proper shoulder function without this. Now, here are my principles for fixing shoulder pain. You see, it doesn't matter what methods you use, these principles always remain the same. Mobility always precedes strength, so it is important to always improve your mobility to a point that is acceptable before you do the strength work. When it comes to impingements, there will be a certain amount of discomfort during these movements. It's important to manage the pain and inflammation levels as low as possible. If you cannot perform a movement to the full range yet, that's fine. Stay on the limit of your comfort, and over time you will break through that barrier. The magic lies in the consistency and execution of your plan. Now, when we talk about stability in the shoulder, we not only refer to the rotator cuffs group, but also the muscles that control the scapula. These, in my opinion, are crucial to proper shoulder functions, as this is the powerhouse of shoulder function. Having scapular stability means the rotator cuff group can perform their functions, maintaining glenhumeral joint integrity while performing upper body tasks. In short, the scapula supports the stability of the shoulder and the glenhumeral joint supports mobility. Seeing there is an endless array of stretches and mobility drills you could use, and they're all fine, I'm going to show you what I use for my shoulders, which I feel gives me the most bang for my buck. Now, it's worth noting that there are two more muscles that I haven't mentioned that affect not only shoulder function, but also shoulder position. and that is the pectoralis major and the latissimus dorsi. Both of these muscles are internal rotators of the shoulder, so any additional stretches to these could be helpful, and one such stretch is hanging. This is the most primitive and basic way of opening up your shoulders naturally. Also a great stretch for the lats and pecs while also unloading the spine shoulder joints. Start off with your feet on the ground first before progressing to a full hanging position. Build up your hanging time to about 5 minutes a day and you will start feeling the difference. I follow this up with shoulder rolls for awareness of motion and connectedness. Here I try to separate the glenhumeral movements from the scapular movements. Usually they work together, but it's sometimes necessary to just separate both, getting all the scapular movements smoothed out, ensuring good full range of motion. Next up, I work my mobility with my shoulder dislocations using a stick or pipe or even a band. This is a great way to ensure shoulder balance between your chest and back. Now find a wall and place your one arm at a 90-degree angle and rotate it out slightly, then work your external rotations of your shoulder. You can also try lifting your forearms off the wall, holding for a second at a time to start off with. Try doing, say, 10 reps per side. For this next one, I'm going to use the ground. And all you do is place your arms behind your back as close as possible, then moving yourself forwards until you feel the stretch in your shoulders and arms. Try holding the stretch for 30 seconds before moving further into the stretch and repeat. Now for strengthening stabilizers, I use a combination of bands or dumbbells. I use a 2-5-2 tempo when working with my rotator cuffs, meaning a 2-second concentric phase followed by a 5-second isometric phase, then another 2-second eccentric phase. As seeing most of their work is stabilizing your glenhumeral joint reflexively. And don't worry about the reps either, just go to failure for 3 sets and rest 1 minute between sets. The first drill is external rotations to a 80 degrees. If it feels a bit strange, try placing a towel under your arm to keep the position. Also be aware about where your scapula is. It should sit parallel to your spine. So lift the chest and roll the shoulders back slightly. The second drill is a 45-degree side raise with all the same principles about scapular placement and stability. We're trying to work the rotator cuffs without invoking pain and without involving any movement from the scapula for now. And the third drill is the lower trap pulls. The options are bands or dumbbells and stability ball. And for this one, we're going to do a W shape instead of a V shape to avoid any pain you might have. You can do both if you feel getting good range and no pain. So work slowly and again, know where your scapula is so that you don't start feeling your neck. That's it guys, this is my take on how to fix your shoulders and keep them healthy for the long term. Stick to the basic principles and you are well on your way to recovery and beyond. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of these videos. And if you're looking for a program that puts the science back into training, head over to mariusvisserfitness.com and check out my Over 40 Foundations program where I cover all of these principles in a step-by-step, easy to follow course. Stay safe and I'll see you next time.